What's up, team? It's Ghost Stories Gaming, and today's video is going to be from the perspective of an average player's first 147 hours of Deadlock. I was going to do this video for the first 100 hours, but I couldn't stop playing, so instead of recording like I should have, I just kept playing. I want to show some insight into what the average player is seeing, experiencing, especially as someone who can only put in 10 to 20 hours a week. I want to cover why I like this game so much, what makes it great in my opinion, and what I've learned to share with new players or players who might be on the edge of trying Deadlock, people who are open to having their minds changed about jumping in. My first 147 hours coming from a non-pro, non-expert, non-full-time creator with a rich history of MOBA shooter background, but someone who has been playing games for over 2 decades. So why is Deadlock so damn fun? For me, it's going to start with Paladins. Now, I know some of y'all just reeled in pain from that, but hear me out. What Paladins did for me was combine the best elements or great elements from several multiplayer genres. First-person shooters, a unique mix of game modes, granting talents and item builds for each hero, heroes having their own shortlist of special abilities, quick games, long games, games where you think you might lose but make this epic comeback, coordinated team play, you have to play together or you will lose. All of those elements being a part of Paladins is part of the reason why I like Deadlock so much. With those item builds, Paladins allowed me to turn a traditional tank hero, for example, into a flank hero. With the right item builds and talent selection, it allowed me to turn a traditional healer hero or a support hero into an absolute DPS demon. Now, to be fair, builds weren't super advanced or complicated. I think it had something like 20 to 25 different items you could select, 3 talents per hero, so it wasn't crazy complicated. And in the current state of Paladins and toward the end of kind of its peak, everyone is using a certain number of the same items. So the builds weren't necessarily super advanced, definitely not on the level that Deadlock is or current MOBAs, but the foundation was there. You've got a shooter feel with these MOBA elements, item building elements, and it granted me that third person or first person view versus the traditional MOBA top down. Paladins wasn't just an arena shooter that offers loadouts or weapons spawning on the map in one area, which 2 teams would rush just to capture the rocket launcher for 2 total shots. What Paladins brought was a shooter feel with hero abilities and ults, item builds, talents, some good, admittedly also some terrible character designs, and an emphasis on coordinated team fighting. Obviously, Overwatch sits in a very similar space as Paladins, but the item builds, the items and talents add that extra level of depth that I was looking for in a shooter game. In my eyes, Deadlock brings all of these things into the game, and they do it a lot better. Now, to be clear, Deadlock is certainly a MOBA first. I played just about everything in the shooter and MOBA space, but nothing quite like Deadlock. If you're on edge about if you should play this game, I'm going to give you a short list of what has got me hooked. In the sake of keeping this video shorter, I'm going to just run through these items as a speed list and just give like very brief details or explanations or a very shallow dive in each one. I can save these for a longer video later to dive into specifics, like if I wanted to do a Deadlock review just straight up. But this is a list of things that just appeal to me. They're hitting me in all the right spots. Number 1 is hero design. There's been a lot of controversy lately over hero designs coming out in shooters. I think we all know what I'm talking about, but it's got this noir art theme where the colors are all sort of muted. It's a little bit darker. It's not as flashy or fun, such as Fortnite. I almost be described as the opposite of Fortnite in terms of the art style. It's very old-timey. It's got this feel of like an old school New York feel. It's not officially New York, but it is. That's sort of the city vibe that they're going with, and just kind of the stereotypical, if you watch like old cop noir movies, that's the feeling that the game is going to give you. It feels like a Valve game for sure. And I like that kind of old-timey vibe, like some of the music, some of the way the characters are dressed. It's in a city, clearly not in the modern era. It's like an alternate New York City. So that noir art theme, the designs of the heroes, each one with their own unique look, background, abilities. Some you're going to like more than others, as with any hero shooter, but they all feel new. They feel unique. They feel thought out. The selection of heroes, the runway of heroes, it's going to be a huge list. They're going to be able to crank new heroes out for, assuming if all goes well, I would say years to come. It's extremely easy to pick up. Anyone can pick. If you've played any shooter with any sort of mild success, if you can get out of bronze, you're going to have a good time. If you have played, League or Dota, you're going to understand conceptually how this game works. Very easy to pick up, but it's going to be extremely hard to master. Especially as new heroes come out, you're going to have to learn all the combinations, what you should spec into based on what others are specing into, the items you need to buy, so on and so forth. Easy to pick up, hard to master. Combos are devastating and dramatic. What I mean by that is when there are large team fights, there's a lot going on the screen at any given time. It's going to be very easy to lose yourself in the chaos. So it's going to pay to be calm in these giant team fights, but man, when you get combos together and just completely melt the other team in a 6v6 fight because everyone was positioned correctly, using their ults at the right time, attacking the right enemies, it's cinema. It's pure cinema. The details. Now, this is going to be kind of a broad statement. It's just hard to explain, but as they're coming out with a constant flow of updates, changing items as they're listening to the community, the details of the map, all of the little voice lines that are exchanged between characters when you perform something in the game, something as silly as adding legs to the urn. Is that necessary? No, it's not necessary, but they added it and it adds a little bit of extra. The different ways that heroes will ride the zip lines out. Some people hang on it upside down. I'm pretty sure Pocket uses the little frog legs inside of his suitcase to ride out. The little nuance that each hero has, little details within the map, the writing on the wall, design, even having, I remember when I was first fighting the jungle, if you're peeked around a corner, they wouldn't necessarily lean out to try to shoot at you. Now the jungle mobs, the jungle spawns will lean to the right or the left, depending on where you're positioned. It's a little detail, not necessary, but it just makes it a little bit better, just a little bit better. And the list I could go on forever with this list of details. There are hundreds and hundreds and hundreds, but the more you play, the more you'll notice these items. Each hero feels strong when in the right hands. I have been absolutely destroyed by just about every hero in the game at this point. I have felt like I have destroyed just about every hero in the game at this point. Each hero, when used properly in the right set of hands, can be devastating to the other team. There's clearly some heroes that are better in team fights, have better ults. If everyone's equal in terms of their item builds, there are some heroes that are going to be better, but anybody who knows how to use their hero properly can be an absolute menace to the other team. What I'm saying is you should play who you want to play. Get good at who you want to get good at. This isn't advice for pro players or anyone trying to hit a certain level. I'm talking to the Joe Schmoes, the 20 to 30 hours a week, if you're lucky, players. Play who you want to play. You can win with anybody. There are virtually unlimited item combinations and builds with each hero. If you want to be a gun focus, you can do that. If you want to be vitality focus, you can do that. If you want to be a spirit focus, you can do that. I'm not saying it's going to fit each hero correctly, and you can get lost in all the videos of the perfect build, the most devastating build, the build they don't want you to hear about, and YouTube's going to be cluttered with all of that stuff. Again, if you just understand how your hero works, you can spec into exactly how you want to play. For example, if you want to play goo ball and you want to do a gun build, that can be awesome. If you want to be a total vitality with some of the support characters and be total support with no damage, you can do that. Seems risky, but you can do that. Pick the items that you want to pick, do the builds you want to build, and a lot of it's going to matter on what the other team is building too. So even if you have a plan, but the other team has a certain stack or build of characters, you're going to want to spec into the things that can counter them, but you can also just do what you want to do. This game is difficult, which I appreciate thoroughly. It makes winning that much sweeter. I'm getting used to MOBAs. It's not my favorite thing. I've played them. It just hasn't been my focus. Something I've learned in MOBAs, you can be winning for 99 out of 100 minutes. Your team makes the one wrong step in the one wrong direction. The one person steps out too far, gets picked, you're going to lose instantly. Deadlock games are not short. They are not short. So if you have 20 minutes before a movie and you're going to play a game of Deadlock beforehand, you're going to miss the movie. They're not short. I would say almost on average, especially the better you get, the better teams you get, it can end a lot faster, but it can also take a lot longer. So when you sit down, you say, I've got 2 hours to play Deadlock, fully expect 2 games, maybe 3 at the most. This is not about quantity. It's going to be the quality of the match. The runway is long. I know we touched on this. There's still some features we can't access or preview. I mean, they call it alpha, I'm pretty sure still. That's where we're sitting. With the response that Deadlock has right now and how hardcore this community is going to be, if it's not already, the runway is long. And you can expect, if you want to pour thousands of hours into a game, I think even this early, you could say hey, I'm willing to set aside whatever else I'm playing and fully dive into Deadlock. So there's a long runway for growth here. The importance of the melee system. Sometimes it feels like melee systems are a totally throwaway feature for games, but in Deadlock, it's extremely important. Meleeing the enemy, heavy meleeing the enemy. Often melee is stronger than your weapon. So to use combinations of shooting and meleeing, pairing the enemy is extremely valuable. Securing souls, you can melee with securing souls. You can melee when you jungle. It also is a part of the movement system. So it pays to learn the melee system and how important it is. Do not ignore it. Practice your parries, practice your melees. A lot of it's about timing. Don't ignore the melee system. It's very, very important. I know we touched on this a little bit as well. The map design and elements. Now, to my understanding, hardcore MOBA, the maps do not change often in terms of like, oh, we're gonna have a selection of 3 or 4 different maps. This is the map. It's just the stuff, the elements within the map that changes. I like it. It's grown on me. It's become very familiar. And there's so much to do on the map vertically as well. So don't get caught just chilling in lanes. You need to go up. You need to go explore. Go find the little nooks and crannies and the little openings in the floor. Yeah, like I'm thinking of this specific spot where it's like this totally unassuming hallway and there's one gap in the floor and the gap actually drops you into a shop. And that's extremely important, especially for people who are familiar with the game. To be able to quickly drop into a shop and not have to go all the way back to your base to buy items is super beneficial. It pays to know where that stuff is. It's all over the map. Become familiar with it. It's a big map. There's lots of little places to go. It can help you in combat. It can help you more importantly with escaping if you need to escape, if you're low on health, and so on. Lastly, I'm going to say the movement. The movement in this game is so nice. You can build up your stamina to have more dashes. You can dash up, back, down, forward, whatever. Being able to, not hurdle, what's the word? Mantle? Is that right? Is that the right word I'm thinking of? Climbing up onto ledges. When you get close to them, being able to do that. The zip lines provide a crazy amount of speed and movement. Being able to slide when you're sliding down stairs, it gives you unlimited ammo. So when you're firing while sliding down staircase, for example, you don't have to reload. It's not going to take bullets out of your magazine. This is important to know in the middle of combat if you'd rather not reload but try to secure a kill or just defend yourself. Little things like that. The movement is very, very smooth. You can jump off the walls without using your stamina. You can build up your stamina with items to have, I think it's 7 or 8, somewhere in there, the number of stamina bars. But it matters. The movement is so important. It's fluid. It matters. It pays to be mobile in this game. So that's my short list. This list is going to change over time as I play this game more. So we might do like a recap video down the road, maybe at 247 hours. I don't know. We'll get that. We'll figure something out. But the more I'm going to play it, I'm sure, and the more changes that'll come, it'll be worth talking about. So the big takeaway, if you're going to take anything away from this video, especially as a new player, it's a MOBA first. You have to treat it as such. You have to realize the importance of objectives, rushing the urn, taking towers, not chasing a fight when you don't need to, knowing when to team fight, positioning matters, grinding souls, which is the in-game currency, denying souls from other players. It is when you watch high level players, it's crazy. They could be mid combat and they're denying souls while they're fighting somebody else. It just highlights how important it is, the currency. It's an arms race. The second you drop down, it's an arms race. That's it for me, guys. You know, I didn't really have an objective with this video outside of just sharing what I've experienced, talking about some of the things I've experienced and enjoyed and liked about this game. I like it a lot, man, and I'm going to keep playing it a lot. I just want to get better. Like I said, I can only dedicate so many hours a week, so I'm not expecting like a high-end rank down the road, but certainly I can get better, making incremental changes over time. I want to keep making content about this. As far as the video itself, you guys know what to do. If you like the content, if you want to come back for more, like, sub, all that good stuff. I appreciate y'all's time. I will catch you on the next video, and we'll see you out there in the arena. Peace out.